Do you want any
GoPro
kind
grip,
of intro, or do we just go right
rolling.
into the questions?
I turn my volume off.
I mean, if you want to like do your name and locate, I don't know.
No, let's just go right into questions and we can do like voiceover, right?
Yep.
Yeah, everything's rolling, so we're good.
Everything is Josh Brolin.
Yeah,
That's a bad habit.
not a good one. Not lately. Don't do that.
Steve, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this museum? How long you've been collecting these kind of artifacts?
Sure. I started the museum in late October 2011, and that was after a visit that my friends Ryan and Dave and I had to Gettysburg. They had a kind of like a paranormal spiritualist museum there. We had gone to do a meet and greet with Alexandra Holzer, daughter of Hans Holzer, and on the way back, I started just shooting the idea through my head about having a museum, based around the paranormal. I already had a couple businesses at the time, and the diner that I had an empty, what used to be a poker room by the former tenant, and I figured I could start the museum project in that room as a complimentary thing for my visitors to check out while they're waiting for their orders, basically. So I budgeted out $50, started asking friends about their paranormal experiences, their opinions on the paranormal, different things like that, and I started just typing them out and putting them into frames and putting them on the walls in the empty room, and eventually started collecting just funeral items, items that some people would eventually come to donate and say, this doll creeps them out, I can have it. And then I would also collect their story, their history of said item. And that's kind of how the museum got started. Over the course of time, I closed the gym I had, I closed the diner I had, and moved the museum from the two buildings I had on Jefferson Avenue in Moundsville to the former Sanford School, which is also used to be in Moundsville, and eventually had 2 rooms there for about 5 years until the city demolished the building and moved it out here to Cameron, which is where we are presently. So that's pretty much a quick roundabout of how the museum got started.
So out of your entire collection, which ones do you feel are the most active?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you 2 items that I feel are the most active. One in a good sense, one in a darker sense, we'll say. We'll start with the good. The one item that I feel is the most active, that is not negative, not malevolent in any way, would be the portrait of Annie that I have. She's my personal collection. She is actually at my house right now. We were having worries of break-ins here at the museum, and that was one of the few items I wanted to make sure, if there was a break-in, that didn't get damaged or stolen. Another item that would be more on the darker side, the more malevolent side, that I feel is very, very active, would be the Hope doll. And she is here at the location tonight. She is kept in the dark room with other items that were involved with darker cases, malevolent entities, the demonic. So she pretty much stays in the dark room permanently.
So she's like the big baddie of the location, if you would.
She's in the upper echelon of those items, yes.
Gotcha.
So I know that the last time we were here several months ago, we had some experiences across the location. We did have some experiences with the Hope doll, trying to get SLS cameras to map her. It had some entities that almost appeared like they were climbing out of the mirror in the closet. We also had some very odd light abnormalities in the doll room that we had to investigate with us, kind of try to come up and debunk some like floating red eyes, so to speak, in the doll room. Have you had people come in before and after us that had similar experiences with those things? Were they new experiences? Could you kind of give us, what are things that people most often experience when they're in the location?
A lot of folks visiting, whether at the daytime or during our night investigations, one of the main things people always make a point of is they feel that they're being followed or watched. Especially the closer they get down the hallway on the second floor towards the dark room. A lot of people won't even go in the dark room. We had one couple come in this past year, and they were nice enough people. There's a husband and wife. They were on a bike trip. They had a nice Harley parked out front, and the wife comes in and she's all about, I can't wait to see this and that, and we like it when guests are enthusiastic about visiting the collection. And he was nice enough, but he's like, I don't believe in this, but I want she wanted to come in here, and he was just doing it for her. He wasn't being obnoxious or anything like that. So we went through the entire room and we always stop at the dark room and always tell people that this is an optional room, because some people do not want to be around it, and that's understandable. And I opened the door, I went in, she followed me right in, started looking at the different items, and he was falling right behind me, and I turned around to make room for him. So I turned around to look, and he stopped at the threshold, and he looked at me and looked down to his left, which was towards the back part of the room where Hope was at and other items like that. And he goes, I'm good. And he wouldn't step foot in the room the entire time he was here. So that was kind of a interesting experience where you have kind of polar opposites. One person's willing to go in and they're into it and they feel comfortable with it, and one person just didn't want to have that in part of his day that day. So
Did he happen to expound for any reason on why he didn't want to go in, or did he say he felt uncomfortable, or he just said nah?
No, he just said, no, I'm good.
Thanks.
But his body movements, his tone of voice, the way he looked in the room but then didn't go in,
You got
said
the
it all.
impression.
It said it all.
Yeah. Okay.
Common sense will
Mm-hmm.
speak to people pretty loud in this place.
And it's funny how that kind of stuff, it's not really cognitive thinking as much as it's instinctual. It seems a lot of the time. It's like you're picking up on something you don't even understand.
Yeah. And for example, I would have that a lot when I used to work at the penitentiary in Moundsville. There's some days I could go down the Shadow Man hallway, taking the trash out the end of the tour, and wasn't a problem. Next weekend, doing the same exact thing, going down the same exact hallway, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to walk outside tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just, when you're around the paranormal, you're around the spiritual aspect of life long enough, you're gonna pick up on a lot of stuff. You're gonna pick up on a lot of intuitive capabilities that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it too, for what it might actually be.
So Steve, when we were here the last time, we had very briefly at the end discussed kind of what you were looking for as far as what the goal was behind having an investigative team kind of like us come in on a regular reoccurring basis. What's your mission with that?
With that project, that's always been to have like-minded teams come in that I have confidence in, that take it seriously, that are into it to learn, into it to experience, and into it to share. Any and all evidence that they might capture